The flowers in the garden deck were not from Earth. They came from 17 different worlds, each one carefully grown to remind travelers of home. Diana Cole liked to walk among them during her off-duty hours, reading the small signs that told their stories. This one bloomed only in total darkness. That one sang when touched. Another released spores that smelled like whatever memory made you happiest. She was bending to smell a purple bloom from the Mirati homeworld when the first explosion shook the station. Diana grabbed a railing as the floor tilted. Emergency lights flashed red. The pleasant music that always played in the garden switched to a harsh alarm. A voice announced words that made her blood freeze. Warning: hull breach on decks 4 through 7. Armed intruders detected. All civilians proceed to emergency shelters. Armed intruders. Pirates. Raiders. Diana had heard stories about attacks on stations like Harmony 7, but she never thought she would see one herself. She was a medical officer on a cargo ship, currently docked for resupply. She was not a soldier, but she had training. Every human in space did. She started moving toward the nearest shelter, joining a stream of panicked aliens fleeing through the corridors. She saw Gorvan traders, their 4 arms clutching precious cargo. Sentinel diplomats, tall and gray, helping others move faster. A family of Mirati, moth-like beings with wings that glowed softly, flew overhead, their bioluminescent patterns pulsing with fear. Gunfire echoed from somewhere ahead. The crowd reversed direction, screaming in a dozen languages. Diana pressed herself against a wall as bodies rushed past. She had to think. She had to find another route. Then she heard a sound that cut through everything else, that a child crying. Diana turned and saw her. A small Mirati girl, no bigger than a human 5-year-old, crouched behind a fallen cargo container. Her wings were trembling so hard they blurred. Her large dark eyes were wet with tears. Her antenna curled tight against her head in terror. The corridor had emptied. The crowd had fled in the other direction. The child was alone. Diana moved without thinking. She crossed the open space and knelt beside the girl. The child flinched, then saw Diana's face and went still. "It's okay," Diana said softly. "I'm going to help you. Where are your parents?" The child pointed down the corridor toward the gunfire. Her bioluminescent patterns spelled out words Diana could not read, but the meaning was clear. "Lost. Scared. Help me." Okay, we're going to find them. But first we need to hide. Can you?" Footsteps. Heavy boots on metal. Diana looked up and saw 3 figures emerge from a side passage. They wore mismatched armor covered in scratches and burns. Their faces were hidden behind helmets painted with hollow eyes. Raiders. The Hollow Men, she realized. She had heard of them. Everyone had. They spotted Diana, and the child point one of them raised his weapon. Diana did not think. She did not plan. She simply moved. She threw herself over the Mirati child, covering the tiny body with her own. She wrapped her arms around the girl and curled tight, making herself a human shield. The first plasma round hit her back like a hammer made of fire. The second one came before she could even scream. The third one made everything go white. She heard voices, distant and muffled. Someone laughed. Just a human and a bug. Leave them. Footsteps moved away. The raiders were gone. Diana tried to move, but her body would not obey. Pain filled her entire world. She could feel blood soaking through her uniform, pooling beneath her. Her vision was fading, but she could also feel something else. A small body pressed against her chest. Wings trembling. A heartbeat that was not her own. "Are you?" Diana tried to speak, but the words came out as a whisper. "Are you okay?" The child wiggled beneath her. Tiny hands pressed against Diana's shoulders. The Mirati girl crawled out and looked down at her with those huge dark eyes. She was unharmed. Not a single mark on her glowing body. Diana smiled. It hurt to smile, but she did it anyway. "Good," she whispered. "That's good." The child's antenna uncurled. Her patterns shifted, pulsing in rapid bursts. Diana did not understand Mirati light language, but she knew distress when she saw it. The girl was calling for help, screaming. In her own way, Diana's eyes closed. She heard more sounds, distant shouts, running feet, the hum of the station's damaged systems. She heard the child's wings beating frantically as the girl refused to leave her side. The last thing she heard was a new voice, deep and panicked, speaking Mirati words she could not understand. Then everything went quiet. Somewhere in space, a human military vessel received an emergency broadcast. The message was fragmented, but it contained video from a station security camera. It showed a human woman throwing herself in front of a Mirati child. It showed her taking 3 shots meant for someone else's daughter. The crew of the UES Relentless watched that video in silence. Then Commander David Webb gave an order that needed no explanation. Set course for Harmony 7. Maximum speed. The hunt had begun. Tessith had lived 43 cycles on 7 different worlds, and he thought he understood humans. They were loud. They were aggressive. They ate things that would poison other species. They came from a planet so dangerous that their own bodies were weapons. He respected them, but he kept his distance. Now he was running through a burning station, searching for his daughter, and nothing he believed about humans mattered anymore. Prill, he called, his wings carrying him above the fleeing crowds. Prill, where are you? His wife, Selith, flew beside him, her patterns flashing with panic. Their daughter had been separated from them when the first explosion hit. One moment she was holding his hand. The next moment, she was gone to a Gorvan traitor grab his arm. The corridors near the garden are clear. The raiders moved on, but there are bodies. Bodies. Tessith flew faster. He found the corridor outside the garden deck. The emergency lights cast everything in red. Cargo containers had fallen. The walls were scorched from weapons fire. And there, behind a container, he saw something that stopped his heart. The human woman lay face down in a pool of blood. Her back was burned through in 3 places. Plasma wounds still smoking. And beneath her, pressed against her chest, was his daughter. Prill. He landed hard and dropped to his knees. His daughter looked up at him with huge eyes. She was shaking. Her patterns spelled terror and confusion and something else, something he did not expect, gratitude. Father, Prill said, her voice tiny. The humans saved me. The bad ones tried to hurt me, and she covered me. She took the fire. Tessith stared at the human. She was still breathing, but barely. Her blood was everywhere. She had thrown herself in front of Mirati child, a stranger, an alien, and let herself be shot. Why? Selith landed beside them. She saw the human, and her patterns went dark with shock. Tessith, we need to move. More raiders could come. We cannot leave her. She is human. Her people will find her. She saved our daughter. Tessith looked at his wife. If we leave her, she dies. I will not let that happen. He bent down and lifted the human carefully. She weighed almost nothing to him. Mirati were stronger than they looked. Blood dripped from her wounds. She moaned softly but did not wake. Prill, show us where the emergency shelter is. His daughter nodded and flew ahead, her small wings beating fast. Tessith followed, carrying the woman who had given everything for his child. Far away, in the cold darkness between stars, the UES Relentless burned toward Harmony 7 at maximum speed. Commander David Webb stood in the ship's combat center, watching the security footage for the 3rd time. The video showed a human woman walking through a garden. Explosions. Panic. Then she found child. Then raiders appeared. And then, without hesitation, she became a shield. Her name is Diana Cole, Lieutenant Ross said. Medical officer on a civilian cargo vessel. 29 years old. Born in New Melbourne, Mars Colony. Webb nodded slowly. Around him, his crew watched the same footage on their personal screens. No one spoke. No one needed to. Sir, Ross continued, we have identified the attackers. The Hollow Men. Approximately 80 raiders, heavily armed. They have taken control of the station and are holding civilians hostage. How many hostages? Estimated 400. Multiple species. Webb turned to face his crew. These were soldiers who had trained for years. They had fought in border skirmishes and pirate hunts. They were professionals, but right now, they were not professional. They were angry. The Hollow Men think they are safe, Webb said. They think hostages give them power. They think we will negotiate. He pointed at the frozen image on the main screen. Diana Cole, mid-fall, her body curving around the Mirati child. They hurt one of ours. She was protecting one of theirs. There will be no negotiation. The crew's response was silence. Perfect, cold silence. Webb opened a communication channel. "Hello, men. This is Commander David Webb of the UES Relentless. You have 1 hour to surrender. After that, we stop asking." In the emergency shelter on Harmony 7, Tessith laid Diana on the only medical bed. A Gorvan trader shared his supplies. A Sentinel diplomat helped clean her wounds. Other survivors watched. Aliens of 5 different species, all staring at the unconscious human woman. "Why did she do it?" someone asked. Tessith looked at his daughter. Prill had climbed onto a chair beside the bed. Her tiny hand rested on Diana's arm. Her patterns glowed soft and steady, like a prayer. "I do not know," Tessith admitted. "I was wrong." The Gorvan trader, old and scarred from decades in space, shook his head slowly. "I have seen many species," he said. "I have traded with hundreds of worlds. Humans are different. They adopt everyone. They see a stranger's child and think that is also my child. It makes no sense." He paused. "But it makes them terrifying." Diana's eyes flickered. For a moment, she seemed awake. Her cracked lips moved. "Is the little one safe?" Tessith leaned close. "Yes, she is safe. You saved her." Diana smiled. It was a weak smile, barely visible. Then her eyes closed again. Outside the shelter, distant gunfire echoed through the station. The raiders were still celebrating their victory. They did not know that human Marines were already boarding. Garrett had been a pirate for 15 years. He had raided ships, stations, and colonies across 3 sectors. He had killed men and aliens without counting. He had earned his scars and his reputation. The Hollow Men followed him because he never lost. When a human military ship sent its ultimatum, Garrett laughed. 1 hour to surrender. He turned to his officers, grinning. "We have 400 hostages. We have control of every airlock. These humans think they can threaten us." His second-in-command, a thin woman named Sela, did not smile. "Sir, that ship is a destroyer. Full Marine complement. If they breach, they will not breach. They know we will start killing hostages the moment they try." Garrett leaned back in his stolen chair on the station's command deck. "Relax. We hold all the cards. In a few hours, we will have our payment and be gone." He was wrong. The 1st Marine team entered through a maintenance shaft on Deck 12. They moved in complete silence, using hand signals and helmet displays to coordinate. They found 2 raiders guarding a corridor junction. Both were dead before they could raise their weapons. The second team came through a cargo vent on Deck 8. They dropped into a storage room and spread out, tagging every raider position on their shared tactical map. The third team cut through an emergency airlock that the raiders had forgotten to seal. They had studied the station's blueprints for the entire journey. They knew this place better than the people who lived here. Lieutenant Ross watched the operation from the Relentless. "Marking targets," she said into her communicator. 14 confirmed on Deck 12. 23 on Deck 8. 11 near the hostage areas. Each raider appeared on the Marines' displays as a red dot. Their positions, their movements, their weapons, all tracked by tiny drones that flew through the station's air vents. Commander Webb nodded. "Hold positions. Wait for my signal." In the emergency shelter, Tessith watched over Diana Cole. Her condition had stabilized, but she needed real medical care soon. The supplies they had were not enough. The Sentinel diplomat sat nearby, his gray face troubled. "I have seen many conflicts," he said quietly. "The humans fight differently. They do not simply attack. They study. They prepare. They make certain. Make certain of what?" Tessith asked. "That they will win." The diplomat looked at Diana. "I watched the footage of what she did. She did not hesitate. She saw danger and she moved. No thought. No calculation. Just action." He paused. "I have studied humans for 40 years. I still do not understand how a species can be both so violent and so protective at the same time." A Gorvan trader spoke up. "They come from a death world. Everything on their planet tries to kill them. Predators, weather, disease, even their own sun gives them cancer." He shook his massive head. But instead of making them cruel, it made them loyal. They learned that survival means protecting each other. And now they protect everyone. Diana's hand moved. Prill, still sitting beside her, squeaked in surprise. Is she waking? Tessith moved closer. Diana's eyes opened halfway. They were unfocused, clouded with pain. But she was conscious. Where? She whispered. Where am I? You are safe, Tessith said. You are in an emergency shelter. My name is Tessith. You saved my daughter. Diana turned her head slowly. She saw Prill, the little Mirati girl, watching her with huge dark eyes. Oh, Diana breathed. The little one. Prill's patterns shifted to bright gold. In Mirati light language, it meant joy. You remember me, Prill said. Of course. Diana tried to smile. Are you hurt? No. You protected me. Good. Diana closed her eyes. That's good. On deck 8, Sergeant Rosa Delgado heard the signal in her earpiece. She raised her hand, and her fire team moved forward. They cleared each room with practiced precision. 1 raider down. 2, 3. No alarms. No warnings. The hollow men did not even know they were dying. Rosa found a group of hostages huddled in a storage closet. Mirati civilians, mostly children, guarded by a single raider who had fallen asleep. She killed him silently and opened the door. The children stared at her with terrified eyes. Rosa removed her helmet. She wanted them to see her face, to see that she was not here to hurt them. It is okay, she said softly. You are safe now. Stay here and stay quiet. More of my people are coming. A small Mirati boy, barely older than Prill, pointed at her rifle. Are you going to hurt the bad ones? Rosa nodded. Yes. Good. The boy's patterns flashed angry red. They scared my mother. Rosa put her helmet back on. They will not scare anyone ever again. I promise. On the command deck, Garrett finally noticed something wrong. His raiders were not responding to communication checks. The tactical display showed gaps where his forces should be. What is happening? He demanded. Where are my men? Sela stared at her console. Her face had gone pale. Sir, they are gone. All of them. Decks 8 and 12 are completely clear. That is impossible. We would have heard. An explosion shook the deck. Then another. Then gunfire, close, controlled, professional. Garrett grabbed his weapon. Get to the docking bay. We are leaving. He ran for the door, but he already knew the truth. The humans had not come to negotiate. They had come to hunt. Rosa Delgado had joined the Marines at 18. She had spent 12 years learning how to fight, how to kill, and how to protect. She had served on border patrols, colony defenses, and rescue missions across a dozen star systems. She thought she had seen everything, but she had never hunted men quite like this. Her fire team moved through the station's corridors like ghosts. Every raider they passed was already marked, a red dot on their displays showing exactly where the enemy stood, which way they faced, what weapons they carried. The drones had done their work perfectly. Contact ahead. Her second, a young man named Park, whispered. 2 targets, both armed. Rosa checked her display. The raiders were standing guard outside a sealed door. Behind that door, according to the station systems, were 30 civilian hostages. She gave the signal. 2 shots. 2 bodies. Silence. The door opened. Inside, aliens of 3 different species looked up with terrified eyes. A Gorvan female clutched 2 children to her chest. A pair of elderly Mirati held each other close. A sentinel stood in front of the group, unarmed but ready to fight. It is over, Rosa said. You are safe now. The sentinel studied her for a long moment. How many raiders remain? Fewer every minute. She left 2 Marines to guard the hostages and moved on. There were more to save, more targets to eliminate. Commander Webb led his own team through the station's central hub. He was not usually a field commander. His place was on the bridge of his ship, but today was different. Today, one of his people had bled for a child, not her own. Today, he needed to be here. Sir, his communications officer said, we have located the medical shelter where the wounded human is being held. She is stable, but needs evacuation. Send a team. Get her to the Relentless immediately. Yes, sir. Webb checked his tactical display. The map of the station was covered in red and green dots. Red for enemies, green for Marines. The red dots were disappearing fast. Garrett was still running. His second-in-command was dead, killed by a sniper shot she never saw coming. His officers were scattered or gone. His army of 80 raiders had been reduced to a handful of survivors in less than an hour. He should have known. He should have listened to the stories about human soldiers. They said humans were relentless. They said humans never forgot an attack on their own. They said humans would chase you across the galaxy if you hurt someone they protected. He had thought those were just stories. He reached a junction and found 3 of his remaining men. They were young, scared, their weapons shaking in their hands. "Boss," one of them said, "what do we do? They are everywhere. We get to the docking bay. We take a ship. We run. But the hostages, forget the hostages. They do not care about hostages. They want us dead." They ran. Behind them, they could hear gunfire growing closer. The humans were not even trying to be quiet anymore. They wanted the raiders to hear. They wanted them to be afraid that in the emergency shelter, the door opened and human Marines entered. Tessith grabbed his daughter and pulled her close, but the soldiers did not raise their weapons. "We are here to evacuate wounded," the lead Marine said. His voice was calm, professional. "Is there a human woman here?" "Diana Cole." Tessith nodded slowly. "She is here. She needs medical attention badly." The Marine saw Diana on the bed, and his expression changed. Just for a moment, his professional mask slipped, and Tessith saw something raw underneath. Anger. Grief. Pride. "We will take care of her," the Marine said. "All of you, please follow us. We are clearing the station, but it will be safer on our ship." Prill tugged at her father's arm. "I want to stay with the human." Tessith looked at the Marines. They looked at Prill. Something passed between them, an understanding that needed no words. "She can stay with her," the lead Marine said. "We will make sure they are both safe." They lifted Diana onto a stretcher. Her eyes opened briefly. She saw the Marines and relaxed. "Do we get them?" she asked weakly. The lead Marine smiled. "We are getting them right now." "Good." Diana's eyes found Prill, who was walking beside the stretcher, holding onto the edge. "Hey, little one, you okay?" Prill's patterns glowed, warm gold. "Yes, because of you." Diana closed her eyes. "Worth it, then." Garrett reached the docking bay with 2 men left. His lungs burned. His heart pounded. Freedom was just ahead. A ship, an escape, a chance to run. The bay doors were open. Ships waited inside. For one moment, he thought he might actually survive. Then he saw the Marines. They stood in a line across the docking bay. 20 of them, all armed, all watching him with cold eyes. Commander Webb stepped forward. "Garrett," he said, "the Hollow Men are finished. Surrender now, and you might live to see trial." Garrett looked around desperately. There had to be another way. There had to be. He spotted her. An old Mirati female, cowering near a cargo container. A hostage. One last card to play out. He grabbed her and pressed his blade to her throat. The Marines raised their weapons, but did not fire. "Let me go," Garrett said, his voice shaking, "or she dies." Webb did not move. His face showed nothing. "You hurt one of ours. She was protecting one of theirs. I do not care about your woman. Let me go." "There is nowhere in this galaxy you can go." Webb took another step forward. "But you already know that, do you not?" Garrett pressed the blade harder. The old Mirati whimpered. He never saw Rosa Delgado circling behind him. He never saw her raise her weapon. He never heard the shot that ended him, that he simply fell. The old Mirati stumbled free. Marines caught her, supported her, led her to safety. Webb looked down at Garrett's body. "Mark this one cleared," he said. Then he turned away. The hunt was over. The medical bay of the UES Relentless was quiet except for the soft beeping of machines. Diana Cole lay on a bed surrounded by equipment that monitored every beat of her heart, every breath she took. She had been in surgery for 6 hours. 3 plasma wounds to the back, damage to her spine, her lungs, her liver. The doctors said it was a miracle she survived at all, but she was human. Humans were hard to kill. Tessith stood outside the medical bay, watching through a window. His daughter Prill sat on a chair nearby, refusing to move. The little Mirady had not slept since they brought Diana aboard. Her wings hung limp with exhaustion, but her eyes never left the human woman. "You should rest," Tessith said gently. "No." Prill's voice was small but firm. "She did not rest when I needed her. I will not rest when she needs me." A human nurse approached them. She was young, with kind eyes and a tired smile. "The surgery went well," she said. "She is stable. It will be a long recovery, but she will live." Tessith felt something release in his chest. He had not realized how much tension he had been carrying. "Can we see her?" Prill asked. The nurse hesitated. "She's sleeping right now." But she looked at Prill's exhausted face, at the way the child clutched the window ledge. "I think she would want you there when she wakes up." She led them inside. Diana looked small on the human medical bed, wrapped in bandages and connected to tubes. Her face was pale, but her breathing was steady. Prill climbed onto a chair beside the bed. She reached out and placed her tiny hand on Diana's arm. Her bioluminescent patterns shifted to a soft, steady blue, the Mirati color of healing. "Thank you," Prill whispered. "Thank you for saving me." Somewhere else on the ship, Commander Webb was finishing his report. The operation had been a complete success. All 80 raiders neutralized. All 400 hostages rescued. 0 civilian casualties. 1 human wounded, the woman who started it all. Lieutenant Ross entered his office. "Sir, the Sentinel diplomat wishes to speak with you." Webb looked up. "Send him in." The Sentinel was tall and gray, with eyes that had seen centuries of galactic politics. His name was difficult for humans to pronounce, so he simply went by Ambassador. "Commander," the ambassador said, "I wanted to thank you personally. Your people saved many lives today. We did our job." "No." The ambassador sat down across from Webb. "You did more than your job. I watched your operation. I have studied military tactics for 200 years. I have never seen anything like what your Marines accomplished today." Webb said nothing. "You did not just defeat the raiders," the ambassador continued. "You dismantled them. Systematically. Precisely. They never had a chance." He paused. "And it all started because one of your people threw herself in front of a child. Diana Cole." "Yes. I watched the footage. She did not hesitate. She saw danger and she acted. No calculation. No thought for herself." The ambassador leaned forward. "I have met many species, Commander. Some are warriors. Some are scholars. Some are builders. But humans are something different. What are we? Protectors." The ambassador's voice was thoughtful. "You protect everyone. It does not matter if they are human or alien, friend or stranger. You see someone in danger and you move. It is instinct for you." Webb thought about Diana, a medical officer on a cargo ship. No combat training. No reason to risk her life for an alien child she had never met. But she did it anyway. "We come from a dangerous world," Webb said finally. "We learned early that survival means protecting each other. Somewhere along the way, that instinct expanded. Now we protect everyone we can, even at great cost to yourselves. Especially then." Webb met the ambassador's eyes. "Because that is what makes it matter." The ambassador was silent for a long moment. Then he nodded slowly. "I will be making a report to my government," he said. "I will recommend that the Sentinel Council pursue a formal alliance with humanity. Not because of your military strength, though that is considerable, but because of what I saw today." He stood. "A species that will bleed for strangers is a species worth standing beside." In the medical bay, Diana's eyes opened. The first thing she saw was a ceiling she did not recognize. The second thing was a small face with huge dark eyes and glowing patterns, watching her from the edge of the bed. "Prill," Diana whispered. The little Maradi's patterns exploded into bright gold. "You are awake." "Father, she is awake." Tessith appeared at the bedside. His face showed relief and something else, something that looked almost like wonder. "How do you feel?" he asked. Diana tried to move and winced. "Like I got shot 3 times. Tessith smiled. It was the first time she had seen a Mirati smile. "You did get shot 3 times. You saved my daughter. Is she okay?" "She is perfect. Because of you." Diana looked at Prill. The little girl was practically vibrating with joy, her patterns cycling through every color Diana had ever seen and some she had not. "Hey, little one," Diana said softly. Prill climbed onto the bed, carefully, so carefully, and curled up beside her. Her small body was warm. Her wings folded around Diana's arm like a blanket. "I stayed with you," Prill said. "The whole time. I did not leave." Diana felt tears in her eyes. She did not know why. She barely knew this child. But somehow, in that moment on the station, when she threw herself over Prill's body, something had connected them. "Thank you," Diana whispered, "for staying." Tessith watched them, the human woman and his daughter, together on the bed. He had thought he understood humans. He had been wrong about everything. They were not just warriors or survivors. They were family waiting to happen, and his daughter had found one. 3 weeks had passed since the attack on Harmony 7. The station had been repaired. The dead had been honored. Life had returned to normal for most people. But for Diana Cole, nothing would ever be normal again. She woke in a medical bay to find sunlight streaming through the window. Not real sunlight. The ship was still in space, but the artificial kind that humans needed to feel healthy. She stretched carefully, testing her body. The pain was mostly gone now. The doctor said she would make a full recovery. Then she saw Prill. The little Mirati was asleep in a small bed that someone had set up next to hers. Her wings twitched as she dreamed. Her patterns glowed soft pink, the color of peaceful sleep. Diana smiled. In 3 weeks, the child had barely left her side. Tessith and Selith came to visit every day, but Prill refused to return to their quarters. She insisted on sleeping near Diana. She insisted on being there when Diana woke up. She insisted on staying with her human. That a soft knock came at the door. Tessith entered, carrying a tray of food. Behind him came Selith, and behind her came someone Diana did not expect. An elderly Mirati female, her patterns dimmed with age but still beautiful. Diana recognized her. The hostage from the docking bay. The one Garrett had tried to use as a shield. "Diana Cole," Tessith said formally. "This is Elder Nashira. She wished to meet you." Diana tried to sit up. Nashira raised a hand to stop her. "Please, do not strain yourself." The elder's voice was like wind through leaves. "I only wish to see the human who saved my people's children, and who was protected by Commander Webb soldiers so that I might live as well. I just did what anyone would do," Diana said. Nashira's patterns flickered with something Diana could not read. "No, you did what humans do. I have lived for 160 years. I have met many species. I have never met one quite like yours." She reached in her robe and pulled out a small crystal. It glowed with inner light, shifting through colors like a rainbow made solid. "This is a shield bearer's mark," Nashira said. "In ancient times, we gave these to warriors who protected our young at great cost to themselves. The tradition has been dormant for generations. No one has earned one in my lifetime." She placed the crystal in Diana's hand. "Until now." Diana stared at the crystal. It was warm against her palm. "I do not know what to say." "Say nothing. You have already said everything that matters through your actions." Nashira bowed her head. "You're a Mirati now, Diana Cole. Not by blood, but by bond. Wherever you go, my people will welcome you as family." Prill stirred her bed. Her eyes opened, saw the crowd, and immediately focused on Diana. "You are awake." She flew across the room and landed on Diana's bed, careful not to disturb her injuries. "Are you feeling better? Does it still hurt?" "I am much better, little one." Diana wrapped an arm around the child. "Thanks to you taking care of me." Prill's patterns glowed bright gold. She turned to her parents and announced, "I have decided something." Tessith raised an eyebrow. "What have you decided?" "Diana is my human now. She protected me. I will protect her." Prill looked at Diana with fierce determination. "Is that okay?" Diana laughed. It hurt a little, but she did not care. "That is very okay." 1 week later, Diana stood in the garden deck of Station Harmony 7. The same garden where everything had changed. The flowers from 17 worlds still bloomed around her. The purple Mirati flower still released its sweet scent. But now she was not alone. Prill held her hand, wings fluttering with excitement. Tessith and Selith stood nearby. Commander Webb was there, along with a dozen of his Marines. The Sentinel ambassador had come, along with representatives from 5 other species. They had gathered for a ceremony. The ambassador stepped forward. 3 weeks ago, this station was attacked. Many lives were at risk. But one human woman made a choice. She saw a child in danger, and she became a shield. He looked at Diana. That choice changed everything. He held up a document. The Sentinel Council has voted to propose a formal alliance with humanity. Other species have already expressed their support. This alliance recognizes what we have always suspected but now know for certain. Humans are not just warriors. They are protectors. They fight not only for themselves, but for everyone. The crowd applauded. Diana felt her face flush. Then Prill tugged her hand. I have something for you too. Diana knelt down to the child's level. Prill reached into a small pouch and pulled out something that made Diana's breath catch. It was a fragment of crystal, glowing with soft light. But this was not just any crystal. It pulsed with Prill's own colors, her personal bioluminescent patterns, captured and preserved. This is the most sacred gift my people can give, Tessith said quietly. A piece of oneself, given to another. Prill asked us to help her make it. She's been working on it since you saved her. Diana took the crystal with trembling hands. It was warm. It glowed with Prill's light, with her love. Thank you, Diana whispered. I will treasure it forever. Prill leaned close. She had been practicing human words, learning them from the nurses and Marines. Now she used the only phrase she needed. My human, she said. Diana pulled her into a hug, tears streaming down her face. My brave little light, she answered. Later, as the ceremony ended and the crowd departed, Diana walked through the garden with Prill at her side. They passed the spot where Diana had made her choice. The blood was long gone, cleaned away by station robots. But the memory remained that a Gorvan merchant stopped them. Excuse me, he said. Are you the human from the footage? The one who shielded the child? Diana nodded. The merchant bowed deeply. I just wanted to say thank you. My family was on this station that day. Because of what you did, because of how your people responded, they're alive. He straightened. I always thought humans were dangerous. I was right, but I was also wrong about what that meant. He walked away, leaving Diana and Prill alone in the garden. Prill looked up at her. Diana, yes, little one. Why did you save me? You did not know me. I am not even human. Diana thought about the question. She remembered seeing Prill crouched behind that cargo container, wings trembling, eyes full of fear. She remembered the raiders raising their weapons. She remembered moving without thinking. Because you needed help, she said finally. And helping is what we do. Prill's patterns glowed, warm gold. She squeezed Diana's hand. They walked together through the garden, a human and a Mirati child, bound by something stronger than blood. Behind them, representatives of a dozen species watched and began to understand. Humanity had come to the stars not as conquerors, but as family, and family protects its own.